Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your curiosity, your sources, and really unpack them to reveal some pretty surprising insights. Today, we're plunging into one of the internet's most, well, enduring mysteries. It's a saga that began right at the turn of millennium, and, it continues to captivate thousands. We're talking about the enigmatic figure known only as John Titor. Okay, picture this. Late 2000, maybe early 2001, the internet was still kind of a wild frontier, right? A place where legends could really take root. Suddenly, this anonymous user pops up on some popular online forums, claims to be a time traveler. From the year 2036, his mission, get this, to retrieve a very specific, incredibly obscure IBM computer from our past. And his message, a chilling series of predictions. We're talking devastating future stuff, civil war, nuclear conflict, a shattered world. He even offered diagrams of his time machine. And then just as suddenly as he appeared, poof, he vanished. Left behind this legacy of unanswered questions.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating about Titor, for me anyway, is that for so many people, he was never just some, elaborate hoax. There's this pervasive conspiracy theory arguing his claims weren't just real, but his entire online presence, everything he did, was a deliberate, meticulously orchestrated warning, a warning to humanity. And so his disappearance, the ambiguity around his predictions, the fact that mainstream institutions just kind of dismiss the story, that's not seen as debunking a prank. No, it's interpreted as a deliberate cover-up, orchestrated by powerful forces,
Yeah.
to make sure the true meaning of his message and the whole idea of time travel itself stayed hidden from us, the uninitiated.
So today, we're diving into this really profound and, frankly, unsettling theory, the John Titor Project, the suppressed time travel warning. We'll dig into the factual origins, like where did he actually appear online? What were his core claims? What proof did he offer? Then we'll peel back the layers of the conspiracy itself. We'll dissect these chilling claims about who might have orchestrated his appearance, why they'd do it, and what profound secrets his so-called failed predictions might actually be concealing. We'll look at the supposed evidence proponents point to, and then crucially, we need to ground ourselves in the logical counterarguments.
Right, and that brings up a really important question for you listening right now. Why? Why does a theory like this, so potent, so enduring, resonate so deeply?
Yeah.
With our, yearning for hidden knowledge, our distrust sometimes of official narratives, and that persistent belief that the biggest truths are often the ones most heavily guarded. So maybe dim the lights. Check your calendars. Prepare to question the very timeline of your existence.
Okay, so our story really kicks off in November 2000. An anonymous user, first called Time Travel, then later settling on John Titor, started posting, mainly on the Art Bell forums, which, if you remember, were pretty big back then for discussions on paranormal stuff, conspiracies, that kind of thing.
And Titor's claims were, well, they were quite specific. That's part of what made them grab people's attention, I think. He stated flat out, "I'm an American soldier from 2036 stationed in Tampa, Florida. His main mission, travel back to 1975. Why? To get a very specific piece of hardware, an IBM 5100 portable computer. He had claimed this particular computer was vital for his future. Apparently, it had this hidden, undocumented feature, a feature allowing it to translate between various old IBM programming languages, APL, System 360 Basic, stuff like that, and newer ones, like a secret decoder ring for ancient code. This capability, he said, was essential for debugging old computer systems still running critical infrastructure back in his time, 2036. Oh, and he also mentioned stopping off in 2001 for personal reasons, visiting family, picking up old photos.
Right, the personal touch. But that's not even the wildest part, is it? He actually described his time machine in detail, called it a C204 time displacement unit, supposedly made by General Electric, GE. Explained it was powered by two tiny singularities, basically mini black holes, creating something called a Tipler sinusoid gravitational field, which is, some pretty complex theoretical physics about warping space-time, needed for the trip apparently, and the unit itself. Mounted in a modified 66 Chevy Corvette for the 75 trip, and an 87 Chevy Suburban for a stop here in 2000.
Exactly. But beyond the tech specs, which were frankly mind-bending for the time, Titor really got famous for his predictions, dire predictions about the coming decades. He foresaw a U.S. Civil War, starting around 2004, escalating to 2008, eventually leading to the country breaking up into 5 separate regions, claimed it would be sparked by internal unrest, civil liberties issues, breakdown of federal authority. Sound familiar? And then this would escalate into a brief but devastating World War III in 2015, a nuclear exchange, U.S. and allies versus Russia and allies, resulting in, he claimed, 3 billion deaths. Just staggering numbers. He painted this picture of widespread societal collapse, world ravaged by war, disease, environmental disaster, survivors living in these decentralized, self-sufficient communities. But despite that grim outlook, he did mention some future tech advancements. Clean fusion power, a more advanced, though maybe less centralized internet.
So he wasn't just dropping these bombshells and running, was he? He actually stuck around for a bit, talking to people on the forums.
Yeah, engaged extensively. His responses were often detailed and, importantly, remarkably consistent over several months. Sometimes quite philosophical, too. Came across as calm, knowledgeable, maybe a bit detached, and even posted photos, pictures of his supposed time machine and what looked like pages from its manual.
Exactly, he built this whole persona. But then, just as abruptly as he arrived, John Titor posted his final message, March 24th, 2001, said he was returning to his own time, and then silence. Vanished from the internet, leaving behind this fervent community and a mystery that, well, people are still debating heatedly today. The stage was absolutely set for a profound enigma.
Okay, so that's the basic story. Titor appears, shares tech details, predicts doom, interacts, vanishes. But this isn't just about some guy posting online, is it? For many, it's the tip of a much, much deeper iceberg. How does this John Titor project, the suppressed time travel warning conspiracy theory, reframe that whole narrative? Right, it takes Titor's story way beyond just, oh, it was a prank. It posits he wasn't a prankster at all. He was a genuine time traveler. And his mission, far more significant than just grabbing an old computer. His entire online presence, the theory goes, was a deliberate, calculated attempt to warn humanity about impending doom. And the fact his specific predictions failed, his disappearance, that's seen as part of a larger cover-up, or maybe manipulation.
So the argument is the sheer detail, the consistency, that specific technical knowledge about the IBM 5100 that was just too sophisticated for some random internet hoaxer.
That's a huge part of it. Proponents say, look at the complexity, look at his world-line theory. We'll get to that. It points to a real understanding of theoretical physics, they argue.
So the IBM 5100 mission, just a cover story.
Potentially, yes. For believers, the IBM mission was real, okay, but it functioned as cover for a more crucial, covert objective. Deliver that warning to our timeline. He wasn't just observing, you see. He was actively trying to intervene. And this leads us right into the core concept that elevates this whole thing from failed predictions to conspiracy. The world line theory. Titor himself introduced this idea, claimed time travel doesn't change your past. Instead, it shifts the traveler to a slightly different world line, a parallel universe, essentially. Every act of time travel, every interaction, he explained, creates a divergence, a branching path.
Okay, so this world line theory, skeptics would say that's just a perfect excuse, right? A built-in get-out-of-jail-free card for when the predictions don't happen. Or is there more to it for the people who believe?
For proponents, no, it's absolutely not a loophole. They see it as a fundamental truth about how time travel actually works, a truth Titor revealed. Their argument is his predictions were accurate for his original world line. But his very act of coming back, warning us, that created a new world line, ours. Slightly different. So in our world line, those specific events might not happen exactly the same way, or maybe not at all. So paradoxically, the fact the Civil War and WWIEI didn't happen, as he described, for believers, that's proof. Proof his mission worked. He successfully warned us, changed our path. It's a pretty sophisticated way to handle unfulfilled prophecies, you have to admit.
And didn't Titor also mention something about great danger connected to figuring all this out? How do proponents read that? Just hype?
No, not hype at all for them. They take that very seriously. A warning. They suggest the danger was maybe for humanity if we ignored his warnings, or maybe the danger was for Titor himself if hostile forces discovered his mission. Adds a layer of, well, gravity to it all.
So if there is a cover-up, who's supposedly behind it? Who are the players in this alleged manipulation game?
Well, the theories really vary. A lot. Could be Titor's own people, his future military or government. Maybe they orchestrated his disappearance, recalled him once the mission was done, or maybe they silenced him because he revealed too much. In that scenario, they control the information flow from the future. Alternatively, could be us, present-day governments, military forces. If Titor was real, they'd know instantly. And the implications? Huge. Time travel is real. So their motivation would be obvious. Monopolize the tech. Keep it top secret, a black project. Control the narrative. Discredit Titor as a hoax. That avoids mass panic from his predictions, keeps the public in the dark about time travel. Maybe they even intervene to ensure his warnings didn't cause too much disruption or create paradoxes.
Wow, okay, that covers the usual suspects. Are there, even more out there theories?
Oh, absolutely. There's a more esoteric angle, too. Suggests a larger, unseen force. Maybe aliens, maybe interdimensional beings, maybe some future benevolent human group, something that monitors timelines, intervenes to maintain cosmic order, Titor's actions might have been sanctioned by them, or maybe his exposure forced them to step in and remove him.
So if any of these are true, what exactly is being suppressed? The information itself, the tech?
Primarily the information, yeah. The theory suggests all these debunking articles, these hoax analyses you see, they're seen as deliberate disinformation campaigns, planted, maybe. The fact that no one has definitively, absolutely unmasked Titor, the general silence from official bodies, that's interpreted as a controlled narrative. Ultimately, the goal is to keep the existence of time travel and these profound ideas about world lines a secret. Keep it away from the general public.
Okay, right. So if someone is genuinely convinced Titor was the real deal, what's their strongest piece of evidence? What's the smoking gun they always point back to?
Hands down, it's the IBM 5100 thing, that undocumented feature. Titor claimed this specific computer, the 5100, had a hidden ability, emulating older IBM systems, translating APL and basic code. And the crucial part, when Titor made this claim, 2000-2001, this feature was not widely known, not publicly documented. Maybe a handful of IBM engineers knew. We're talking obscure, highly specialized stuff. So the question believers ask is powerful. How could some random guy on the internet know such a specific non-public technical detail about a vintage computer, unless he genuinely had access to future knowledge or was an insider with very specific info?
Yeah, the IBM 5100 detail, it really is the perfect anchor for believers, isn't it? That one little nugget of seemingly privileged information keeps the whole thing from just collapsing into, oh, it was a prank.
Exactly, it's sticky. Beyond that, they point to the sheer consistency and detail of his whole persona. His posts were consistent for months. He answered complex questions, physics, future history, daily life in 2036, with a level of detail, coherence. For many, it just seemed beyond what a simple prankster could maintain. He had this specific tone, this worldview. He stuck to it. Creating that kind of sustained, detailed, consistent character, especially one engaging in technical talk, suggests high intelligence, dedication, more than just a casual hoax, they argue.
And you mentioned the world line theory earlier. Skeptics see it as a cop-out, but you said proponents actually use it as evidence. How does that work? That's a real twist.
Right. For believers, it's not a cop-out. It's brilliant. It's a self-validating prophecy. They argue it shows a sophisticated grasp of theoretical physics, specifically the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. The idea that every possible outcome exists in its own universe. That interpretation, they say, allows his warnings to be true, even if they weren't literally fulfilled here in our reality. So again, paradoxically, the absence of the Civil War, the absence of WWIU as he described, that becomes proof his intervention worked. He saved us, in a way.
Okay. But while the big predictions, the Civil War, WWII didn't happen like you said, do proponents point to smaller things that maybe almost came true or seemed like precursors?
Oh yeah, they definitely do. They'll highlight, for instance, the increased political polarization, the civil unrest in the US since the mid-2000s. Growing global worries about water scarcity, conflicts over resources, ongoing global conflicts, the war on terror, Middle East stuff, rising tensions between big powers like Russia, China, the US. Now, these aren't exact matches, obviously, but for believers, it suggests Titor was tapping into genuine future trends. His warnings might have just nudged things slightly off that specific track.
And his disappearance, March 24, 2001, just gone. No big farewell tour. That also seems significant to believers, doesn't it?
It does. It feels more consistent with a genuine time traveler finishing a mission or being recalled maybe abruptly.
Right.
Rather than a hoaxer who'd probably try to milk the fame, write a book, do interviews,
Great. And those diagrams, the photos of the machine, even if you can't verify them, they add to the mystique. Suggest more than just some artist's impression.
And finally, back to that great danger warning. For believers, that's not just hype. It implies powerful forces, future military, present governments, whoever would intervene if the truth got out too widely. So his disappearance could be a direct result of that danger. He got too close. Or his mission was deemed complete or compromised.
Okay. So we've definitely heard the compelling case from the believer side. It's intricate, it's fascinating. But what about the other side? What do the skeptics, the mainstream experts, the investigators say about all this? What's the overwhelming consensus view?
Well, the prevailing view is pretty straightforward. John Titor was an elaborate, yes, but ultimately highly successful internet hoax, a sophisticated piece of fiction. Regarding that key piece, the IBM 5100 prediction, skeptics argue, no, it's not proof of future knowledge, not at all. While obscure, yes, the 5100's hidden features were known. Known within a very niche community, IBM enthusiasts, engineers who worked on it back in the day, information could have been found, old tech manuals, maybe internal IBM docs, or just talking to the right people who remembered the project. So it wasn't future knowledge, it was just obscure past knowledge. And, crucially, Titor didn't predict the feature would be discovered. He just claimed it existed and was necessary for his mission. Someone with that obscure knowledge could easily build a narrative around it.
Makes sense. And the big predictions themselves, the Civil War, World War III, they just didn't happen.
Exactly. The major claims, U.S. Civil War by 2008, WWII in 2015, none of that came true in any specific verifiable way, period. The more general references, civil unrest, water wars, things like that, skeptics say they're so broad, so vague, you could argue they're coming true almost any time in history. That's likely just confirmation bias. Proponents retroactively fitting current events to Titor's vague statements.
And that world line theory. Proponents see it as brilliant proof. Skeptics see it as
a convenient loophole, a hoaxer's dream, basically.
Yeah.
They argue it's a brilliant yes, but ultimately self-serving rhetorical trick. It provides an immediate, unfalsifiable excuse for why all your major predictions fail.
Right.
Allows the hoax to just keep going indefinitely, because you can always say, oh, it happened just on a different world line.
Yeah.
Plus, there's really no established scientific basis for applying the many worlds interpretation from quantum mechanics to, like, macroscopic time travel to explain away failed predictions like this. It's a philosophical interpretation of quantum physics, not a proven principle you can just slap onto time travel stories. It's a leap of faith.
Okay. What about physical evidence? Did Titor ever leave anything tangible behind?
No, nothing. Despite all the detailed claims, no piece of the time machine, no future artifact, no verifiable future tech was ever provided. Zero physical evidence. The photos he posted could easily be faked. Digital manipulation, clever model work, misinterpreting existing objects, lots of possibilities. And creating that consistent, knowledgeable online persona, that's a hallmark of skilled fiction writers or dedicated role players. The format of those early online forums actually allowed for it. You could carefully craft your responses, take your time, maintain the illusion.
Right. But maybe the most compelling counter-argument, the thing that points most strongly towards hoaxes, is the investigation that claimed to unmask him.
Yes, that's a big one. In 2009, there was a private investigation done by an Italian TV show called Voyager. They claimed to have identified the likely creators of the whole John Titor thing. Two brothers, Larry Haber and John Haber, based in Florida. One's a lawyer, the other a computer scientist. Apparently, they were connected to a company that managed the original John Titor website and reportedly had a history of involvement in, guess what, time travel-related fiction. Now, it's not like 100% definitively proven in a court of law to everyone's satisfaction, but it provided a very strong, very plausible explanation for where the hoax came from.
And the motivation for doing something like this, why create such an elaborate hoax?
Well, skeptics suggest the motivation is pretty clear, especially back then. The early internet was this unique playground for elaborate hoaxes to just explode. Think about it. The thrill of fooling a massive audience, the intellectual challenge of creating such a compelling, complex narrative, and maybe down the line, potential financial gain. Books, media deals, merchandising, those are all pretty strong motivators for putting in the effort.
Okay, so we have strong arguments for hoax, plausible candidates identified, clear motivations, and yet, despite all that debunking, the John Titor story, the conspiracy theory, it clearly still captivates thousands, it persists. What is it about this particular mystery that gives it such staying power? Why hasn't it just faded away?
Yeah, it's fascinating why it endures, isn't it? It's complex, but I think it boils down to a few really core human elements. First, just the sheer allure of time travel itself. The concept, the idea. It's one of humanity's oldest, most enduring fascinations. The possibility that it could be real, that a genuine time traveler actually visited us, talked to us. That's incredibly compelling, hard to let go of, even with counter evidence.
And does the fact that it's never been absolutely 100% definitively closed, even with the Haber brothers investigation, does that ambiguity help keep it alive?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's key. It's the unsolved nature, at least for believers. Even with the Habers named, there's no universal, legally binding unmasking that satisfies everyone. No confession, no smoking gun that convinces all believers. That ambiguity, that sliver of doubt, allows the mystery to persist. It leaves just enough room for the theory to breathe, to survive. It's a perfect psychological hook, really.
It also seems to tap right into that deep-seated skepticism about official explanations, doesn't it? Governments, media, science saying it's a hoax. For a certain mindset, that almost confirms it must be real and being covered up.
That's a huge part of its appeal, definitely. The theory reinforces a distrust of mainstream narratives. It plays right into that. For many people, if they, the establishment, dismiss something, it actually makes it more believable, not less. It feels like you're seeing behind the curtain. And then there's just the raw power of the what-if factor. It's incredibly potent here. The implications if Titor was real, imminent civil war, nuclear apocalypse, the ability to change the future, they're so huge, so profound, that the mere possibility leads many to cling to the idea. It's almost comforting in a weird way, or at least thrilling. It makes you feel like you're in on a massive secret, that you understand the world's hidden workings.
And the fact that this whole thing was born on the internet and still largely lives there, does that online environment help it persist?
Oh, definitely. The internet is its natural habitat. The collaborative nature of forums, websites, social media. It allows communities to form, to collectively analyze every detail, interpret events through the Titor lens, and reinforce each other's belief in the theory. It creates these self-sustaining echo chambers where the narrative is constantly validated and elaborated upon. People find community in that shared belief. And finally, maybe on a deeper level, in times like ours, times of global uncertainty, anxiety about the future, the idea that someone from that future might be trying to warn us, maybe guide us, that can be a powerful psychological comfort. Offers a sense of potential agency, a chance to avert disaster, however slim that chance might be. And for many, it always comes back to that one detail, the IBM 5100. That remains the single nagging piece of proof that feels genuinely difficult for them to explain away. It cements their belief.
So, the John Titor project, the suppressed time travel warning conspiracy theory. It really transforms what might have been just an early internet phenomenon, turns it into this chilling narrative, a desperate message from the future, deliberately obscured, hidden by powerful forces.
Exactly. It posits Titor wasn't a hoaxer, he was real, sent to warn us about doom and his failed predictions. No, they were successful interventions. They subtly shifted our timeline, maybe saved us. And this profound truth, the theory says, is now meticulously suppressed by governments, by shadowy entities, whoever, seeking to control the narrative of time itself.
And while, mainstream explanations overwhelmingly point to an elaborate, very clever internet hoax, fueled by a brilliant story and that one specific, obscure technical detail, the conspiracy theory just keeps resonating deeply. Its power seems to lie in our enduring fascination with time travel, definitely, our yearning for warnings, for guidance from the future, and maybe, too, that pervasive distrust of official stories when we're faced with something that feels, well, truly inexplicable. It really shows how that fundamental human need for answers, especially when the official ones feel unsatisfying or incomplete, creates such fertile ground for theories like Titor's to take root and thrive.
So as you navigate, the complexities of our present day and maybe ponder the uncertainties of your own future, consider those whispers of John Titor.
Was he just a really skilled storyteller, painting this vivid, scary picture of a possible tomorrow, or was he a genuine messenger? A voice from a future that might have been, whose warnings we actually heeded maybe without even knowing it, altering the very course of our destiny, and whose true mission perhaps remains locked away, shrouded in the deepest layers of classified information. The answer, well, for now it seems lost in the shifting sands of time. But that captivating what if of the John Titor project, it definitely continues to echo through the digital ether, reminding us just how easily belief can blur those lines, the lines between elaborate fiction and what feels like profound truth.